Now, one of the most interesting concepts I read through this book was the concept of free products. Now, when I say the word free, it doesn't mean free in perpetuity, but actually free enough to get a lot of new users to end up tasting what your product is like and what kind of problems it solves for them. For example, Ryan Holiday talks about 50 Cent. Now, before 50 Cent was this incredible best-selling rapper out in the world, 50 Cent was basically a drug pusher. He would sell crack on the streets of Jamaica in Queens. And one of his strategies was he would actually get his crew to rob rival drug dealers, take their stash, and give those products out to the users as free as samples around the neighborhood. And that was because two things. He wanted to eliminate his competition. At the same time, he wanted to capture the users. So whenever he gave free drugs out to users, actually what he was doing is that he's getting these people to be addicted to these products, and then they recognize him as the only monopoly. Now, basically, I would call this strategy called the Find Your Addict strategy. Now, I'm not advocating for anyone to use or distribute drugs, but I think the most important lesson one lesson that we can learn from this story is that we must find out ways of how we can capture our first users. And capturing our first users sometimes means is that we have to give them a sample or give them a free taste of what our product is like. Which is why you find that in commerce, for example, in skincare industries, is that people always put samples of different products to give to their customers that buy their products or people that just inquire but have not actually made a purchase. And the reason is because you want to give a person a sample of what a product can do for them. We're giving that sample to them for free. Chances are there's no barriers for them to actually try it. When there's no barriers for someone to try a product, maybe they fall in love with a product. Maybe they think like, wow, maybe I've never tried this before. And instead of buying a jar of a product that I don't know what it's about, and then me facing a huge loss, like me spending maybe 40 ringgit, 50 ringgit just to try something and then I realize I don't even like it, I'm trying a sample which already is for free and maybe chances are I will actually like the product and actually buy it. So I think that is how the concept of free is being used in business, by giving people samples of a product at a cost that makes sense to us, obviously, and also in a way that also benefits the customer to try something out for free that they can then subsequently change their opinion to try it. Now, the reason why we want to give free samples out to people is because whenever we are asking people to check out our products in the first place, if you're asking people to check out our products in the first place, actually what we are trying to do is we are getting people to say that they should care about us. And, to be honest, why should they care about us? Because at the end of the day, perhaps to buy a product, they have to spend their time, money, and resources, and also energy to actually get the product. And that will hold people back at times. At times, people will think in their mind, is it really worthwhile trying something new? And the only way I believe in how to get past people's resistance to things that are new is to make the cost of entry for them to try our stuff to be ridiculously low. And that is why I believe, some people, if to quote again the skincare brands and industry is this, sometimes they produce travel-sized products, not just because they want to benefit the customers that are traveling, but also because the consumer gets to try their product at a lower cost and also have enough experience itself to gauge whether this product actually brings them benefit. Another tactic that's been used in the skincare industry is people get to have free samples whenever they buy products, or maybe people that are browsing but cannot commit to buying, they actually get samples given by the store assistants, and that is also one way for them to get introduced to try something for free and then subsequently then convert them into customers. If you're thinking about how this concept of free can be applied to content, can be applied to speaking engagement, for example, you come across TED Talk. Now, there's a lot of TED Talk videos online on YouTube and maybe even podcasts. And some of us, the price of a TED Talk ticket is actually not cheap. I think it's about tens and thousands of dollars, to be honest. And then you think to yourself, why is it they're giving their talks for free when people have to pay to get to attend those sessions? And I think the reason why people give things for free is to, number one, build brand. Number two, get a lot of people to associate with what the brand is about. People associate TED Talk as to something that brings a lot of value. To become a TED Talk speaker means that you have been curated, someone actually curates a speaking engagement, and then you have to have a lot of credibility, you have to have a lot of value. And TED Talk, being a TED Talk speaker at times is like almost a badge of honor. So whenever people produces content for free and give things for free itself, you're already exposing a huge audience into what their brand is about. Number one. They're positioning their brand is about, number one. Number two is that you're getting people to sort of get tasters, get free, to have some sort of free experience of what the brand is about, and then potentially then convert them to customers. Another brand I'm so obsessed about is Mindvalley. And I've come across Mindvalley ads at times through YouTube, through Instagram, through Facebook. But what I like about Mindvalley is their free content. And the first time I've seen their videos, I was amazed at the production level, and I was amazed at the amount of content they're given from multiple incredible speakers for free. And I always associate Mindvalley as something that is polished, that is aesthetically beautiful, that takes a lot of time. Every single video I feel is a work of art. Every single podcast episode I feel brings a lot of value. So the chances of me actually converting, becoming a Mindvalley course subscriber is probably high, because I have come across positive experiences and also been very obsessed about the brand as a whole. And I realized one thing, all the time they bombarded me with ads, there were times I just clicked to just avoid their ads because I wasn't interested in the products. But because they gave me free content itself, through videos and through podcasts, when I listened to the content, I was more sold on what the company was about versus seeing an ad. So I think when it comes to building and marketing a best-selling product, it's important to use a combination of both things. Ads allow us to have multiple reach to different people in different segments, in different special targeting groups. At the same time, we also should build our branding and positioning through things that we give away for free, things that we're okay to give away for free. For example, free content, which establishes a brand, which establishes a feeling about the brand in the long term. So in a way, you can think about, brand building and giving away content for free sometimes it's more of you're playing a long-term game. Maybe someone that sees your ad may not buy or click immediately today when you see your ad. But because someone has been consuming your free content for a period of time, they have a very positive aspects. They feel very positive about your brand. They become word of mouth for your brand. And also they're more likely to actually convert to be customers. And there's one strategy written by Ryan Holiday when it comes to promoting books. And he says that my books are often uploaded to pirated sites. And you may be reading a pirated copy right now, which is actually what I've done, to be honest. I know piracy isn't that great, but I'll be the first to admit there are books I've read actually came from pirated sites. And he also says this, he doesn't feel it's a loss to actually for his books to be on pirated sites, because in a way, end of the day, if you think about it, people that consume his content for free and you feel there's a lot of value to it, chances are they become the biggest spokesperson. And as you can see, because I came across Ryan Holiday's books on a pirated site, I then have created a video because I found there's so much of value. And to be honest, I kind of hope that my friends or even whoever is watching this video will actually be inspired by the level of value that is given in his books to actually want to pick out the book and buy, or even spend money on his speaking engagements, on his tickets. There's another tactic he found very interesting when it comes to the music industry was this rapper called Soulja Boy. He's launched his career by uploading his songs into early pirated platform called LimeWire. But how he got through, now the tactic that he used was that he deliberately misnamed the tracks, so that people actually thought that they were downloading free downloads of the latest 50 Cent and Britney Spears single. Now if you think about it, that's kind of like a crazy inventive way of and creative way of how to actually get new customers. Maybe people that downloaded the mislabeled tracks, maybe half of them actually deleted his track because they were like, hey, no, that's not what I signed up for. But at the same time, people that have heard his music and was like, hey, maybe I should listen to this music, who is this artist? When we do certain tactics like that, it's not your conventional tactics of running ads, but I think if something does give you a result, end of the day, it's something worth pursuing. Obviously, ads are more efficient in a way because you're using the social media platforms, and social media platforms know how to target the right people that's closest that's going to buy a product. So in a way, you have efficiency. At the same time, I do believe that tactics like this, which requires a lot more time and effort, but less money, also is something worth pursuing, is worth considering as well. Another example that Ryan Holiday gave in his book was this author called Paulo Coelho. Now, if you've read The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho is a New York Times best-selling author, and he never cares about piracy. He doesn't freak out about it, to be honest. And he actively pirates his own books and torrent sites in countries like Russia. And you might be asking, why does this guy want to give his stuff for free? And the reason why is because he did not have a marketing budget, and he did not have a marketing budget in Russia, and he actually found that that's the fastest and most effective way of driving legitimate sales in those hard-to-read regions. And he ended up selling around tens and thousands of copies of one of his novels in Russia in 1 year itself. And then next year, because of the piracy, he sold 100,000 books. And you can imagine, like the publisher of his books must be dying inside, must be thinking himself, like, I don't get it. Why would you publish a book and then give it for free to certain regions of the world that, that's hard to sell? But in the long term, I think it's a long-term game that Paulo Coelho is playing, that he realizes one thing. If he actually pirates his own book in certain regions in the world, that makes sense. And if people have a taste of his book for free, chances are they'll be raving it to their friends. They may be telling, oh my god, this book is so incredible, I must read the rest of his other books. And maybe that pirated version itself was like a free taster for them to actually buy the rest of his books as well. And not only that, he also once posted a photo on Facebook about a young boy selling unlicensed copies of his book in the streets of India. And the reason why he did this wasn't to shame this boy, but to thank him, writing that, I know that people call this pirate editions, but for me this is an honor, an honest way for this young man to make some money. And in a way, you think about it, Paulo Coelho is so confident in his work to think that for people to even want pirated versions of my book, it means that my work is going to reach thousands of people that who otherwise have not had the opportunity to actually consume my work, maybe because of monetary issues. So it's not something that he actually is angry about, but to be honest, this has actually helped him. And up to today, he has sold 165 millions of books, and for him, it's the strategy that's clearly working, which is why I realized that when Gary Vaynerchuk, a mentor of mine, I consider a mentor, he's always talking about giving things for free up front, for example, free content. The reason why he asks people to give free content is because he's basically trying to capture new audiences very quickly. And also by giving free content to people, it's also letting people understand what are we about. They're also getting a opportunity for them to sense that what kind of value that we can offer to them. And usually when we give people for free content, those free content is actually like a setup to eventually sell something to them that's worth more than what we're giving out. For example, a free Paulo Coelho book, a pirated Paulo Coelho book that would have cost maybe 40 ringgit. Maybe let's say if he had a speaking engagement in a country and his ticket sales are probably like 200 to 300 ringgit, chances are people that actually stumble across his pirated ebook itself and read it and were obsessed about this author itself are more than perhaps willing to spend 200, 300 ringgit or even more than that. So sometimes the free product or free sample isn't about us facing a loss when you give people free samples, but it's basically a strategy that's setting us up for something more lucrative in the long term. So this is something I found quite interesting in this book itself. And not only that, Ryan Holiday talks about how he actually uses the free concept in his own advertising and marketing campaigns. He basically said that he partnered with BitTorrent, one of the biggest piracy tool in the world, to give away music and books and other content for that reason. And the reason why he ends up speaking so highly about this strategy is because when we build an audience, actually what we're trying to do is we're trying to gain a momentum. Before we can get people to buy a product, sometimes we have to have very strong brand awareness. And for us to have strong brand awareness, we have to think about what is it the end consumer wants. How can we give them a taste of what we can offer to them? And if you're very confident about what we have created to begin with, giving them something for free is just going to set like a snowball effect. They're going to consume something we have for free and then become a word of mouth and speak highly about us and then get more people to be aware about our brand, and those people are going to spend money on our products itself. or even the people that consume our first content for free, they just, because they're so obsessed about our work and our value that we give to them, they will more than likely be willing to buy a higher ticket item. For example, something that's like a speaking conference, a ticket to a speaking conference, or even those one-on-one coaching sessions as well. So giving something for free is just like a setup point for people to then appreciate the value that we are bringing to the table, and then for them to realize that maybe this person is worth spending more money or more their resources on in the long term. Now giving something away for free concept, I admit that was a little bit tricky, because I realized that when people create something, sometimes when they sell their work short for free, or they give some sort of freebie, sometimes they feel like they're devaluing their work. I think there's a fine line between devaluing your work and also using a free concept as a long-term strategy to get more new customers. And so I think that it has to be applied appropriately depending on your industry, and also depending on how much how economically this free strategy is for you end of the day. But I think end of the day, it's important for us to think about how can we take concepts from this strategy itself. How can we take parts of it? How can we implement parts of this strategy that we can use? When we come across a strategy, we don't necessarily have to apply everything that we see or hear or think or read. It's important for us how we understand what's behind the concept, and how we can then position it or even experiment with it, to sell whatever we want to sell to our audience as well.